It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. James, have you ever had the self cheerleader? The like, yeah, I can do this and I want that next thing and give me this, give me that. Have you had that person? Have they worked for you? Have they not worked out for you?
Yeah, for sure. When this has to be probably 5 to 8 years ago, we brought in somebody for hardscapes, and they said they knew all that stuff, and then we kept having warranty issues, and then guys were like, we can't work with this person anymore. I'm like, well, we brought him in for this one sole purpose.
Yeah.
And then kind of scrapped that whole, we went different ways, put it that way. But yeah, I mean, it's people can talk a big talk and they might know what they're doing, but with warranty work, I mean, that's the number one thing you don't want to go back to for landscapes.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You're losing money.
Yeah, for sure. So after that, we kind of shifted completely because it just left a not so good taste in our mouth. So we don't even do hardscapes anymore.
Oh, really?
We're maintenance only because it's easy to train. You don't have to worry about the weather as much, but we still do design builds, but no patios or walls. We sub all that stuff out.
I'm like tangential to the industry, right? We have a lot of recruiting and bookkeeping clients that are in the green industry, and window cleaning, power washing, maid service are super similar. But I feel like most of the people that I talk to are moving towards the hardscaping and away from the maintenance. So we're not going to get into that, but let's make sure we talk about that in a few weeks when we're doing the late night happy hour. That'll be fun to dive into.
Really quick on that, I'm seeing an opposite shift with some people I'm talking to, like businesses 3+ million
going back to just recurring.
Yep, they want the yearly contracts.
Punch the ticket.
Yeah, it's the same reason. I mean, we can go into it later, but it's materials, weather, skilled people. I mean, you need really good skills to do a $250,000 backyard renovation or patio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just throw somebody in because they got a good attitude. Say, hey, here's the backhoe and go at it.
Yeah. I got you. Don or Rob, you guys got any specifics or any self cheerleaders that you've run into so far?
Oh, I've had a few.
Go ahead, Don.
I've had a few. I had a guy who said that he worked for a landscape company for X amount of years. He was actually older than me, and I was like, sure, come on board. I need somebody, and didn't show up on time. He wanted to cut corners, never wanted to do anything the way it was supposed to be done. He always would backtalk what I would tell him to do. I mean, I have a horticulture landscape degree, and you're going to backtalk me of how to plant a tree? Come on, dude.
Just like a total know-it-all?
Yeah, like, I know how to do this. I know the run of equipment. Yeah, and then he takes a Bobcat and slides it down the hill, and it's like, you know how to get it out? Because if you said you know how to do everything, so you got the thing stuck.
Yeah. Did you know how to do that, or did you just luck into getting it stuck?
But the question, Don, is what did he blame it on? He blamed it on the grass and the hill, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
He didn't own any of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was your fault that it was too wet.
The whole freaking day of us digging the dang on thing out.
Yep.
Go get another log. I don't want to. Yeah, go get another log.
We're doing it my way from here.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? He didn't show up the next day. He called me up and he said that I didn't know how to run a business.
Dude,
it's your fault, Don.
Mm-hmm.
We had one, and I always like to use this. I know you guys were talking about culture and attitude. I always say it's okay to like country music, just don't be a country song. And it's so true. Like, I'm sure that these guys, I mean, that guy who knew it all. We had a guy who worked for me for 3 years. He helped me grow the business in a lot of ways. But he was absolutely a negative factor on the team. And it got to the point, like, I literally had to, Henry Cloud's Necessary Endings, had to get that to be like, all right, Rob, you're going to read this book, and finally I'll make that happen. And it finally just exploded. And by it exploded, I mean, like, I literally lost my mind on him. And that's not just, it takes a good bit to get me to that point. But it was really good to part ways when we did. We probably should have done it earlier. And I had a sales guy last year that just wasn't working out. And then, he didn't work out. And then I got COVID, the same weekend. It was awesome though, because you do it anytime you have something like that happen. It's a good stress test. You get people to kind of see who's going to step up. We had an office girl. She stepped up into sales. We had another guy who was technician that he stepped into sales, because it was like literally exactly a year ago. This week is when that all went down, and I knew that I needed to make the change on the sales guy like a month and a half prior, but didn't do it.
Back to like the backup QB stepping up.
Yep.
Taking on the starting role for a minute.
Yep.
I mean, that's normally I always say to myself is I can run a business by myself and I can always do the work myself. But when you have that backbone of that one person you can depend on, it makes life so much easier and the stress level goes way down for sure.
Yep.
I mean, that's like Clay, who I pretty much mentored him, and now he's coming to work and he's telling me things, and it's probably things that maybe I forgot that I probably learned, but like he's pointing things out, and like he had a whole we cut I call it my monopoly block. I cut 3 properties. I have an HOA, a client, another client. They're all in the same area and they're spread out. They're 3-acre lots, every one of them. And so far away, I can see him talking to the client, pointing to something, and like totally had a whole conversation with him. And I didn't bother him. I just let him go. And I know the client very well that, if it didn't go well, he'd probably come find me. Walked back, the client walked back in the house, shut the door, hopped in his car and drove off. I'm like, okay.
That was either really good or really bad.
Yeah, I was like, this could go 2 different ways. So, I just kind of let I just proceeded doing my thing. We're cutting, we're mowing. And, at the end, he comes up to me. He's like, oh, I always say Mrs. Jones or Mrs. Smith. Mr. Jones was like, hey, well, you're here. Will you clean up all the branches from the river birches that fell because we had a windstorm, and, you just clean some stuff up and whatnot. Well, he proceeded and just did everything himself, got everything cleaned up, grabbed who's his buddy, grabbed him, had him carry everything over to the truck, cleaned everything up. And I was like, damn, like, cheers to you. Kind of like, all right, you're showing that you want to be here, but you also are showing that you have the ability to communicate with a client, get the point across to them what we can do, and also move on. And that was, kid's 19. It's hard to find a 19-year-old that's going to be willing to do that,
Capable of doing
blown
that.
it off and said, I don't know, talk to Don,
Solid.
So,
that's your mentee.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So